which comes from Penelope. Don't forget, if you have a confession, we'd love to have it, please. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Please, if you could make them under 21 pages.
Oh, that'd be great.
That would be good. Plus, longer than one paragraph. They're just general tips. Now, this is a Halloween confession. So this is as close as we could get, obviously, because we weren't here last week. So this is a Halloween confession from Penelope. Simon and the Drive Time Confession Gang. This confession happened on a Halloween evening 4 years ago. And I hasten to add, it only happened because the evening in question was Halloween. I need to ask forgiveness from everyone in question, although I doubt I will ever forgive myself. This confession involves a pigeon, a black cat, and, as I said, Halloween. See if you can guess where this is going. Between our neighbour's garden and ours, part of the wooden fence blew down during a savage gale. I decided to replace it with some wooden trellis work so that we could grow climbing roses. It's been a great success, especially in summer when the roses are a splendid picture smothered in pale yellow blooms. An unnecessary detail, I have to say. I also need to add that I feed the garden birds, and I have done regularly for the last 40 years. It always gives me such pleasure to watch our beautiful avian visitors happily pecking away at the various offerings that I put out for them. All was well until a new neighbour with a family of 5 cats, including a little black wanderer, moved in on the other side of our neighbour. This cat soon checked out the neighbourhood and figured out where all the bird feeding stations were, including ours. I had to shoo him out of my garden on a number of occasions when I saw him stalking the birds. But you could tell in his eyes he had murder on his mind.
Murder? Right.
I don't think you could, Penelope. No. I think it's just a cat. Anyway, Halloween rolled around and we collected a bag full of munchies for the neighbourhood kids, who would usually group together with a couple of parents in tow and cruise the neighbourhood trick-or-treating in the early evening. They're really sweet kids and we enjoyed their visits. However, that afternoon I arrived home from work to find a messy tragedy had unfolded in our garden. But the way nature intended. Obviously, whilst we were out, the little black wandering cat had scored a hit, killed a pigeon, leaving a trail of pale grey feathers across the lawn until it reached the trellis. Then, clearly unable to get its prize through the small trellis holes, he left the pigeon in the flower bed and fled the scene of the crime. Typical cat. Being tender-hearted, I was beside myself. It's clearly unfair to feed the birds only to have the neighbour's cat prey on them, and besides, I didn't see why I should be the one to clean up after the cat. I placed the pigeon in a white plastic bag, marched through the house, ready to deposit the pigeon on their lawn for them to clear away. But somewhere between the back and the front door, common sense kicked in. If someone saw me, they would wonder why on earth I was depositing a deceased pigeon on someone else's lawn.
Why indeed?
Yeah. Especially as it was Halloween, and did I really want to risk getting into an argument with a neighbour? Given nightmare neighbours being a dreadful reality, would I really want to risk starting a battle with one which might not have a ready end? Anyway, I tucked the bag just outside the front door and returned indoors to rethink my response. And knowing myself, I do the right thing and dispose of the pigeon correctly and not involve said neighbour. No. I just needed time to calm down. In the meantime, we heard the young trick-or-treaters cruising around the neighbourhood, shouting and laughing, and we got our bags of munchies ready inside, but they never came. A while later, I rang my parents, they lived just around the corner, to ask them if they'd been visited by the trick-or-treaters. "Oh yes," replied my mum, "they were here about an hour ago." Mystified, I hung up, wondering what to do with a bag full of munchies. The next morning, I went out to dispose of the pigeon, but it wasn't there.
Oh, no.
I saw my neighbour, so I stopped to have a chat. Did the young trick-or-treaters visit you yesterday evening?
What?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, she replied, but I don't really like children, so I just leave a bag of goodies outside on my front porch so they don't disturb me.
Oh, no.
And then the realisation hit me of what had happened at our front porch. Oh, no.
Oh,
I guess
dear.
the children, seeing a white plastic bag by our door, assumed that we'd done the same as the neighbour, just left some goodies for them to collect. They must have thought it was cake, maybe, or a large slab of chocolate, or a Toblerone, or something like that. They must have thought something like that. I can't imagine their shock and horror when they opened the said bag. I mean, you know it's called trick or treat, but no one really expects a dead pigeon.
No, they don't.
No, they really
I
don't.
could just imagine as they open the bag, what is it? What is it? What have you got? It's a dead pigeon. Oh, okay. So I would like to say, says Penelope, I am so, so sorry because never Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined or planned such an event. Any other night of the year it would have never happened. The children left the neighbourhood a few months later, although I doubt their move had anything to do with the Halloween disaster. I think it probably did.
Maybe it did.
I don't expect forgiveness, but Halloween was never celebrated in Southern Africa, where I come from, like it is here, and we need to follow the local customs carefully. I write stories for children in my free time, hoping to share a love of books. I think this is Penelope now, just going, going for some kind of popular vote. You know, I'm doing good works. Kind regards to you all. I hope you enjoyed Halloween this year. Okay, so let's check in with Sister Susie from the pub. What do you say to Penelope?
Well, it's a tricky one because I don't like. I'm a dog person, not cat person. I really dislike them. So I'm with you with that, Penelope, on that cat trying to attack that bird. And it wasn't really your fault. And you're right, it wouldn't have happened unless it was Halloween. So I'm tempted to say there wasn't any malice. You didn't mean to. So I think I'm going to forgive you.
Forgive, okay, Brother Matthew.
I'm definitely going to forgive, and I certainly I think I've got a kindred spirit in the neighbour saying I don't really like children. So, you know, I tell you what, any kids knocking on my door, you had better be packing some manners. That's all I'm saying.
And how many did you get?
Well, 2.
There you go.
And they got a toffee crisp each, and very happy they were with it.
So forgiven or not?
Please and thank you, forgiven.